What's up, everybody? We are back with episode 4 of the DIY bow build. Now in today's episode, we're actually going to pull out the portable bow press that I bought, and we're going to press this bow and we're going to get my Peep sight installed. So let's take a look at that now. All right, so here's what this portable bow press consists of, okay? So there's these two arms that go down over the top and bottom limbs. This does go on the inside of the string, which is kind of nice because it won't be in the way on the outside of the string out here to where I wouldn't be able to get a proper tie into my Peep and things of that nature. On this model that from Synunm that comes for the Hoyt bows, my lower limb pocket is wider than the upper, so therefore these are two different sizes. So I always need to make sure that I have my my red arms down on the bottom and then the blue arms up on the top. And then there's my pulley system that I'm going to use to pull to actually bring these two arms together in order to actually press the bow. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this up here. I am kind of nervous about this because these brackets are metal, of course, and then I'm nervous about them like banging on my strings and my cables and stuff. So I try to be as careful as possible when I'm going in here and doing this. That one, and then you do have to bring the string out from the string stop here a little bit so that you can get the cables back behind it. Okay, we're looking good there. So I just need to go ahead and release a little bit of tension on this so I can get the bottom under here. All right, so I'm nice and hooked up here. I'm going to make sure that I'm good up on the top to make sure it's not contacting my cam. It's not contacting any of my cables. Make sure I'm good on the bottom so I'm not contacting my cam or my cables. All right. Get this just a little bit off. There we go. Okay, everything looks good. So then all I got to do is pull this lead rope, and as I pull it, it's going to press down my cams, or press down my limbs, and now I have slack on my string. So I'm going to pull the lead rope up, and there's a little cinch in there. That's probably not enough. I probably need to go ahead and do this a little more. That might be enough. We'll see. It's kind of floppy, but it's not too bad by any means. So now I've got my little separation in here. Okay, I'm actually gonna press it just a tad more. Okay, so I got my separation string in here so I can separate my two cables. That's always nice. I've always liked the fact that manufacturers have done that, so then you're not guessing about where you should be at and where to separate the strings at. And again, I'm running the Hamskea Raptor Peep, and from what I've read online is that I need to run this at the 40-degree angle, which would be the notches facing backwards towards my eye. So that's how I'm going to put that in there. So I'll separate these strings. So I'm going to keep the little serving separator in there. I'm going to keep that in there for now. And the reason is because that way it'll give me a point to where if I ever need to replace this Peep again, I'll always have where those strings where that string was separated at. So that looks pretty good. Right now it's pretty straight with the string. Just twist it a little bit. But I will end up cutting these strands off on the end and just leaving just a little knot inside there. It won't look bad and it won't be in my way, so I'll be okay with that. Another thing you could do if you're unsure about where to exactly run your peep height from your D-loop, one of the things I read online is a good starting point would be to run it 5 1/4 inches or 5 1/2 inches from the center of your nocking point to the center of your peep. And it just so happens that if I do that, if I go center of my nock to center of my peep, that's right at about 5 1/4 right there. So if you ended up needing to do that, you could. All right, so I've got my peep in there, and what I noticed is that my string twisted. So now like my D loop is all off to the left-hand side over here. My D loop is lined up with my peep sight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this bow press off of here, and I'm actually gonna draw it back and let me see if it settles into place. Never want to draw your bow back without an arrow in there. So I'll put my peep up a little bit so I'm not having to... So I'm going to bring my peep up because right now it's too low. So I'm going to take it out. So I'm going to repress the bow and I'm going to come up about a 1/2 inch. Oh yeah, much better. Much better. I don't know why it's all twisted though. So I'm gonna have to do some troubleshooting to figure out why this is twisting. And I think I'm gonna do that before I end up actually tying this in. So let me go do some research and we'll be back in just a minute. All right, so I got the twists worked out from my peep sight and my D loop. Basically what I had to do, I think my string finally settled into its actual position. I went and watched some YouTube videos, and because my string settled back into its original position, I just needed to adjust a couple things. So I took my pliers and I held my string in place, and then I just rotated my peep around to where it was nice and straight, rotated my D loop around so it was nice and straight, and then made sure my peep sight was lined in with that. I've went ahead and I've drawn it back a couple times and did my same anchor point, and it's working out perfect. It's set up exactly where I want it right now. Now I know a lot of people end up checking this peep situation with their sight on. To me, it doesn't matter if your sight is on there or not. And the reason is because it's about consistency. So you want to come back to that same anchor point every time. And if you're coming back to that same anchor point every time, your peep sight is going to come in to that same exact spot every time. So it doesn't matter if your sight is on there or not. That will absolutely affect the range at what your sight can run. So for example, I'm running that Spot Hog Fast Eddy XL. Potentially a sight tape could go out to 100 yards, but I might not be able to actually shoot out to 100 yards. I might only be able to shoot out to 90 yards or 80 yards. That's just something that you have to be accepting of if you're going to run your peep sight at a different height. But now at this point, I think I'm ready to go ahead and tie it in. And the tie-in that I'm going to do on this, I actually got from Bowmar Archery, and he got it from somebody else. But so far, I really like the way this tie-in works, so I'm going to go ahead and copy him. So I'll bring you in closer and we'll get this peep sight, the peep sight tied in. All right, so here's how we're going to tie this Peep in, okay? So again, I'm using the same BCY 3D that I used for my knock sets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about two 20-inch long strands of this, and then we'll get started. All right, so from that serving material, I've got two 20-inch long strands. All right, so we're going to do one strand at a time. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one tie on the top and then one tie on the bottom, and I'm going to leave all my tag ends. So just for this one, I'm going to come under here. Okay, got that one, and then this one is going to look like I'm tying it from the top, but I'm just going to start my knot up here and then I'm going to rotate it just because it's easier that way. Okay, get those underneath. Got it right there. Just need to move this one over. Right there. Okay, looks good there. All right, so now what we have is I have two tag ends. One on the top that goes this direction, and one on the bottom that goes this direction. And then the same thing over here. I have one on tag end that goes this direction and one tag end that goes this direction. Now, it doesn't matter which four of these that you start with. You can start with any of the four, but you're basically going to go the opposite direction of whatever these tag ends are here with. So let's just say I'm going to start with this tag end right here that's going down this direction over here. I'm actually going to cross that over and I'm going to tie it up this side, this way up the bow, or excuse me, down, technically this is down the bow, this direction. And then the tag end that was on the bottom is actually going to go opposite. So these are going to cross each other like this, and they're going to get tied on to the strand right here. And then the same thing on this side. These are actually going to cross each other. This one is now going to go up, and this one is now going to go down. So let's get this tied in here. So basically these are just a bunch of like single knots. Also, since this one came from, so I'm starting with my top knot on this side that's down on the bottom, is going to come up on this side over here. I'm going to come from underneath this side when I come up and do these knots. And I'm going to do about 12 on each side. So there's one, and you don't want to pull this too tight because you don't want your peep sight to move up or down the string. So you just get that kind of down there just a little bit. So that was one, and we're going to go with a total of 12. That was 2. That's 3. And now once you get to that 3 mark, that's when you can really put a little, nice little tug on there. Still not overly tight, but you can put a good nice tug on it. So that was 3. We're going to go up to 12. All right, now that I got my 12 coming up this side, so what I'm gonna do now is the next time I come around, I'm actually gonna do it double. So when I pull this through, I'm gonna pull it through once, and then I'm gonna come back around and do it twice, and then cinch that down. I'm gonna pull that nice and tight, and then I'm not gonna cut this and burn it just yet, because I don't want to take the chance of burning this other side off. But with this other side right here, because it's coming from the bottom, and now I'm going to go this way, I need to come from the top and come down this way. Come down underneath and back through, and bring that down. Here's one. 2. 3. And now since I have that third one, I can really give it a nice tug on there. Make sure that's nice and tight. And now, same thing as I did up here. I'm gonna go 12. All right, now I have my 12 going down this side over here. So now the next time I come around, I'm gonna do a double knot. So I'm gonna come through, then I'm gonna go one more time around, and then pull that tight. One of the things working with this serving material, I'm sure if you're an archery pro shop technician, this stuff doesn't hurt your fingers, but it like really cuts into the side of my fingers. And I'm a heavy equipment mechanic, so it's not like I have sissy fingers or anything like that. Okay, so both of these are tight. Potentially I could cut and burn these off right now, but I'm gonna wait, it's okay. Now I'm gonna move on to this other side, and on this other side, I'm doing the same thing, okay? So this tag end that's coming from the top that's angled down this way is gonna go up this way. And then the tag end that's on the bottom that's angled up this way is gonna go down this way. So I'm gonna take these two, and they're gonna cross like this. And again, this top is gonna come from the bottom, and the bottom is gonna come down from the top. And again, same thing, 12 on this side and 12 on this side. All right, I've got them all tied in now, coming up this side, that side, and that side. So now I can cut these off and burn them. And when I cut this off, I'm gonna try and leave maybe about a 1/4 inch. Always make sure you're cutting away from your bowstring so you don't accidentally nick that. And then we can just burn these off. All right, so there we go. My Peep is all tied in. The little burned edges are the only thing about this tie-in setup that look kind of janky, but man, I tell you, that is one beautiful tie-in. For my first time ever tying in a Peep, I'm extremely happy with that. That thing looks good. Let me see if I can get a little zoomed in for you guys. So you can see how it turned out amazing. Those tie-ins are pretty good. But what this does, when you tie in that top strand that was across the top on this side, when you take that over and you tie it in this way, and then you take the bottom side that was coming out this way and you tie it in this way, basically those are countering each other. So one is pulling this way, one is pulling this way, and that means that your Peep is not going to move or slide up and down your string one way or another. But guys, that is my Peep tie-in. I'm extremely happy with it. I'm extremely happy with how everything has been going in general, between getting the rest installed, getting the D-loop on, getting that Peep sight tied in. Everything's going extremely smooth, and I'm extremely happy about it. On the next episode, I think we're going to go ahead and get the sight installed, and I haven't picked my stabilizers yet or anything. I haven't picked a quiver. I'm not sure if I'm even going to run a quiver on this bow. But the next thing will be the sight. We'll get the sight installed. And so that'll be on the next episode. And then the following episode after that, we'll be putting together my draw board and checking the draw weight and the draw length on this to make sure it's squared away. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. Hopefully this is helping, or you're at least minimally entertained by all this. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Don't forget, be a good predator.